Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Multifamily Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Peterson, and I am in my happy place in Kauai, the Garden Island, and I'm actually in Princeville, where we rented um, an 18-person bed house. I'm sitting on the balcony right now. If you're watching this from YouTube, you can see a spectacular sight behind me because we are looking over Hanalei Bay. And it is just a beautiful spot and having a great time with my family and my friends. And really, this is what I call that legacy wealth. This is part of that. What that means is to be able to go on vacations with others and share and do things and be just be engaged, recharge the batteries. And so today's episode, I really want to talk about something that I don't realize that I do, but someone was telling me the other day. It's like, hey, you need to share that because this is really good stuff. And this is what I'm going to call my points game. And so in today's age, like credit cards are a big deal, and almost everybody accepts credit cards nowadays. And how do you leverage and get points? Because your points game, my friends, needs to be strong. If you're not playing the points game, you're just kind of leaving some money on the table, in my opinion. And so one of the things, so I'm going to give you kind of the rundown of how we use credit cards. In particular, I have a couple that I use, and I'm going to go over why I use each one and let you kind of give a feel for how I think you should play your points game. Because the one thing about these apartment complexes is that they tend to spend a lot of money. And if you're going to pay for things, why not just pay them on your credit card and then pay the bill? Because it's money you're going to end up spending anyways, and you might as well, in my opinion, get some points. So first off, I'm going to start kind of how I use my points, and I'm going to start with the first card that I think is an absolute game changer is my Southwest Airlines Chase card. Okay, if you're watching YouTube, you can see it right there. Southwest, it's a nice card, and the reason I love this card, so Southwest has one of the best points features, I think, in the airline industry. And if you like, some people may not like Southwest. I love Southwest, and I love Southwest. Once you get status, like A-list status, then I'm typically A16, A17. I'm one of the first 15 people to board the plane at all times. And so I get to pick whatever seat I want. And I think that's awesome. I always pick the outside aisle on row 9. By the way, if you don't know this, if you're flying Southwest, row 9 is the first seat to get any service or beverage service or whatever it is. It's not row 1, it's row 9. Row 9 is the first one to get drink service. So that's why I like row 9. I always find row 9 on the outside aisle, and that's where I'm camping. Okay, that's where Corey's riding on Southwest. Now, the thing about the Southwest card is that after you get enough points, and you can get all your points, it's not by flying, guys, right? I don't try to get flight miles. I just use spending dollars on my Southwest card. And so now maybe I should back up and say, listen, for every property that you have, I think you should have 2 credit cards, one for CapEx and one for general expenses. Okay. Now, and the why? Because it's easier to, if you have a great property management company, they can help distill the 2. And I'm gonna go into the details of how you set that up for your manager. But in my opinion, you need 2. Now, I have a couple businesses, so my Southwest card just runs my Kahuna investments, advertising, and anything I do with spending for my main company. Now, for my apartments, I tend to use American Express. And why do I like to use American Express? Because American Express has the best policy when it comes to taking care of their cardholders. If you ever had a dispute with something, American Express is the best in taking care of stuff like that. So I tend to, so by the way, let me finish with Southwest card. Not only does, so the Southwest card has the good points program, but once you get to your A-list status, that's the first status you want to get. And then the second is you get to qualify for what's called Companion Pass. And the reason I love Companion Pass is that what that means is when I fly, my wife or whoever your companion is, you get to pick a companion, and you can change this companion 3 times within a year. That's pretty awesome. Used to be only 2, and now they made it 3. So you can change your companion, so you can have someone else fly with you if you'd like. But for me, it's just my wife. And that means if I'm flying to, let's say, Hawaii, which is how we came here, my wife flew for $10. Okay, so let's put that in perspective. I mean, if you're doing some flights to your properties and things like that, if you want to bring your spouse or maybe it's your partner, maybe it's something like that, you can really earn, it can really go a long, long way. So we love Southwest. Once I get to the Companion Pass, once I've earned Companion Pass, I typically don't use this card anymore. Okay, so I've maxed that out. Then I go to the next card, and I maxed it out on points. So once I get to the level of status that I want, which is Companion Pass on Southwest, I stop using it. And then I switch to the American Airlines AA Advantage card. This is a city card. Okay, both of these are credit cards. Now, the reason I like the American Advantage card is just because I want status on American Airlines. So, and that's really for international travel. So this is me just thinking about, okay, me and Shelly are starting to take a lot more, like, let's go to Europe, let's go to Italy. Not right now with coronavirus, but listen. And by the way, we'll talk about coronas here in a little bit, but because I think there's some opportunities coming. I think there's some major opportunities that's going to come. So, like, start prepping your capital now. That's what I'm saying. We'll see where this thing goes, but it could lead to some land of opportunity. Who knows? When there's fear and panic out there, that's usually a good place to be ready. Get your traps set, get your spear sharpened, because it's almost time to go hunting, I think. All right. So those are the first 2 cards that I set up, and then I want to get to a certain status, my Southwest card, and then I start using my American Airlines City card. And that's just for my personal business, for what I'm doing. Now, for my apartments, I set up 2 different cards. And actually, I don't have one in my wallet because I traveled. I kind of consolidated my wallet when I went to Hawaii. But I have a American Express Platinum card. It's a metal-looking card. It's platinum-looking. And that card it costs $300 a year to use, but it gives you lots of perks. Like, it gives you perks in airline fees. It gives you like $120 of airline credit. It gives you a bunch of other stuff. But I like it for if you're traveling internationally or just domestic, and you get to the airport way early, which happens sometimes when you've got a full day and you didn't know what time to book your flight. So you push it back, you get there, like 4 hours early. You can go to the lounge. There's lounges in most major airports, and the American Express card will get you in the lounges. That's pretty cool. So I like that a lot. But basically from there, we use 2 other cards. So we use that platinum card, right? And that's usually for my CapEx spend. So, and why for CapEx spend? Because we want to separate 2. One's for CapEx and one for there's normal operations. And what you'll get your managers to do is you're going to get them to start asking questions with all vendors, right? So Wilmar, all these companies will take credit cards. They all do. And more companies right now are taking American Express than ever. But I use American Express because it is the most, it really takes care of its card holders more so than the vendors. I mean, they take care of the vendors too, but the vendors have to pay a little higher rate for American Express. But American Express takes care of their card holders extremely, extremely well. Plus, their online accounting interface for your CPAs and for stuff like that for accounting is really good, and it's very up to date and set up for business, right? So American Express is typically a business card. So we set one up for CapEx, and I typically use, that's the Platinum card. And then the other card for operations, I kind of go between two. One is my Marriott Bonvoy card, Marriott Bonvoy. So Marriott Bonvoy is like your St. Regis, all your Marriott properties. It's got, I think Sheridan's on there, maybe not, maybe not. But a lot of really, really nice hotels are with Marriott Bonvoy. And so I like to use that card because I want to get points for, like, when we want to go on a real vacation as a family, we can use our Bonvoy points and stay at some of the nicer, higher end type of apartment or hotels. So I think that's really, really good. And that's typically why I like this card here, is the Marriott Bonvoy. And then my next card that I'll use a lot is my Hilton's Honors card by American Express. Oops, that one's got my card number on it. So I'll maybe, yeah, hold it up like that. So my Hilton Honors card, and that's an American Express as well. Now, the cool thing about Hilton Honors is that it rewards if you pay a hotel or anything for like expense for at the hotel, it's 15 to 1 points. So this Hilton's card, we use an extreme, I mean, like a lot when that's the only card that we use when we do any events, right? So we try to book our our events at Hilton properties because we can get 15 to 1 points. And let's say the average setup for, a typical deal that we'll do like Kuna Boardroom is like $30,000-$40,000. So 40,000 points. Let's say we do that event 3 times a year, that's $120,000. And you're going to get 15 to 1. So get 1.5 million points, something like that. That's a good use of your points. So, and the great thing about this, right? So this is all money that you're going to spend anyways. And when you look at it that way, like, hey, listen, I'm going to spend money. So what else can it do? Just, besides just the points, think about this. If most of your vendors have a 30-day pay, right? When you set things up, they do work, they bill you 30 days later, you pay, and then you pay with a credit card like American Express, you can usually give yourself another 15 or 20 days before you have to actually pay that bill. And so that just gives you better cash flow management as well. So I highly recommend using credit cards in your business, especially in the apartment business, and you want to get 2 for each property. Now, here's the way we set that up. I typically will set up and create a card for my property manager, and it's usually the owner of that management company. And that's the only card that is set up for that property, for each individual property. We create one for each property, and we actually name it. So American Express allows you to take in your property, the name of the person, and then I'll usually put my 3-digit code for each property. So here's maybe another tip for you guys. We name every property that we have with a 3-digit code. So Forestwood Apartments is called LAF. So it's Louisiana Forestwood. Eagles Village, EVE. And so we have a 3-digit code identifier for every property that we have. And it really makes it very easy for us when we're wanting to communicate with other people about deals, or like when I'm communicating with my property manager, I'll put in the subject line HWK for Hawkeye. They know that then that's the property, that's what this particular email is about. So it's really good. Instead of saying Hawkeye Towers Apartments or, Hawkeye Apartments, like that's a long thing. HWK works all in all caps. And so people can, your team can really quickly identify what's going on, what we're talking about, so they can then see what's going on with the email. So I thought that was a really nice little segue there for that. But on the points, you're really going to set it up, and you're going to set up for each usually one person. And I usually will set up my platinum card for one for each property for the same person, and then on their, it's going to say like, what name do you want to put on the card? So if you're watching YouTube right now, it just says Corey Peterson. For that, I would have Corey Peterson, then it would say EVE. And so that way my property manager can help, properly understand what card goes where. So that's the only thing that you're going to have to pay attention to when you set these up, is making sure they don't cross-contaminate. Now, it's usually not a big deal. Your most apartments management companies can handle this type of transaction. It's not hard. They're going to put that credit card in their system. They're going to make sure they pay all vendors with it. You can set up to pay all your capital expenses with a different card, like we said, we used to. And it really gets yourself in a nice position, because look, we have one property that we spend like $130,000 on electric a year, right? It's a student housing project, and we pay the bill every month. And so why wouldn't we go out and like just use credit card for that? And that's easy points. The property's going to pay it anyways. And why not get some points to like get your game going? Because at the end of the day, we work really hard. We work extremely hard at the property level, that you should be able to use and benefit from using and being smart purchaser, and getting points. Now, I think that it's a key strategy, but also it gives you a little bit of timing, with that 60 days leverage on most for your accounts payable, right? To get you your cash flow cycle going. I think that's extremely positive too. So guys, this is not gonna be a long episode. It's really wanted to go over my points game, because listen, if we're going out there and play and you're playing full out, at the end of the day, you're gonna want to go to like amazing spots like where I'm at now, which is beautiful Kauai, my favorite island. And we use a lot of our points to get here, and you should too. You should leverage this. Business is a lot of work, and take advantage of the things that can help you and your family have great times, great fun, and really live the lifestyle that you want. Guys, if you believe it, you can achieve it. Your paradise is possible.